Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Etheria Restart video. So in today's video, guys, we're going to show you Kokardi. We've got him almost maxed. We've got him maxed on his prowesses because we summoned a lot for the event where you get the additional lattices, and then we put 5 into his skill 1, 4 into his skill 2, and then 4 into his skill 3. I don't know from a PvE setting if you need this fully maxed, but most of the other DPSs that you're going to be comparing him to, your Yellies and Liliums, they're also going to be maxed most of the time whenever it comes to try and just min-max your outputs for PvE. So we've done something similar, and of course, I think he's very, very strong in PvP right now. There's a lot of green characters running around. Mizuzumi Aya, I think is her name. Is that her name? Yeah, Mizuzumi Aya. He's a really good check to her. He's obviously good against Ra, who's very good against Fusho. He's good against Holden. He's good against Mizuzuki Mikado. So he's got a lot of really good matchups in PvP. I'm not going to be talking about those today. We're just going to be talking about him in PvE. Because if you invest in a character in PvP, you're hoping that he'll be serviceable in PvE. Now, the way that I view Kokardi from a PvE setting is he is not going to be your choice when it comes to quick takedowns of bosses. So your typical shell dungeons and your thresholds, you're not going to be using him. If you're in the end game, if you're progressing through the game, I think he's a pretty viable option. He's going to be very similar, in my opinion, to Shiada or to Chloros. Chloros and Shiada are a little bit different. Like Chloros, you want to just pump out a whole lot of damage and try and kill quick, but he ramps up. Shiada also ramps up, but you want to build her like in Bloodbath because she's got some tankiness. Now, even though Shiada has like the ability to reduce damage, Kokardi does not, but he does have in his passive, if he is paired up with one of your allies still, he can't be targeted by an attack. So it gives him a little bit of sustain himself. So the way I have him built, at least to run through some of these things and just walk through where he's good and where he's not, is in count with a full damage build. So we've got him attack percentage, crit rate, and then assault. And this is not even min-maxed. Like the momentum set, I think, is worse than Kenai. I'd preferably like Kenai and Harvest. He's got no defense ignore or anything like that in his kit. So Kenai Harvest, I think, is nice, or Kenai Fury would be good. And you'll see that this roll is actually wasted based on the stats that I have here. So it'd be much better for me to roll a crit damage roll in his skill 2 or even a speed roll because he has turn meter push in his skill kit. So these are his final stats. The attack and crit damage is a little bit low for my liking, but it is what it is. If I ended up putting this in Kenai and keeping the count shell, but just imprinting over into Kenai, I could keep the crit rate roll and then just get the crit damage from the Kenai, and everything would be kind of okay. But we've got attack percentage, crit rate, crit damage, and then we've got these substats here on our left side pieces. So an okay build, nothing super overpowering, but that's kind of where we're at. So yeah, let's kind of showcase his kit. His whole kit is kind of based around Calamity Flame, right? So Chloros has the Doom's Resurgence, where he's building up the amount of times that he uses this ability, and then Shiada is based around her Soul Flames. This guy is based around his Calamity Flames, which is a additional damage based on the max HP of the person that you're fighting, but you do need to scale on Kokardi's attack. This is where count also really helps. He allows the damage to be a little bit higher whenever his attack boost from count takes place. And I think you'll be able to see this whenever we showcase him in Sharon. So he does, just a single 240% multiplier and then gives himself a stack of this Calamity Flame on his skill 1. The important thing with the skill 1 is if you level it up, the damage boost from Calamity Flame goes up to 1.5% instead of 1.2 where it starts out. This passive is amazing. I think this is what makes him really strong. So he can't be targeted, so he's got a built-in kind of stealth whenever you have another ally alive. And then whenever he lands a crit, he inflicts additional 1 hit of indirect true damage of this Calamity Flame. The passive is what ties in the Calamity Flame damage. If the passive is turned off by somebody like Silence or something like this, this will not trigger. So that's something important to mention. And then it says for every 2 turns of action taken, he deals 300% damage to all enemies, increases all allies' turn meter by 20%, and then puts crit rate up on himself, and then applies another stack of Calamity Flame. Couple things to mention here. The 2 turns of action is he needs to physically take 2 turns. It doesn't mean a follow-up attack, a counter attack, anything like that. He needs to take a physical turn on his turn in the rotation for turn meter. So you want him a little bit quick, or you want to pair him with turn cyclers to make sure he's taking as many actions as possible, because he's indirectly supporting your team as well by giving them a turn meter boost. This is really cool. I love this passive. Now, the amount of stacks of Calamity Flame here on the level 5 for his prowess, all of this stuff matters when it comes to PvP and even like endgame PvE. Ramping up to your Calamity Flame allows him to deal more damage at a higher clip. So if you put him in Bloodbath, this and his skill 3, like stacks of Calamity Flame, are way more important as you're just building him for the long game and you have him sustaining with Bloodbath, where you're going to rely more on the damage from the Calamity Flame than his actual like modules. So yeah, that is something to mention. And then on his skill 3, he gives himself a 2-turn crit rate up. So you only need to build him really with 70% crit rate. And then he deals 360% damage to all enemies, increases his own turn meter by 35%. So he boosts himself back up to try and loop back around to his passive to get those 2 actions, right? And then he applies 2 stacks of Calamity Flames, where if it's fully leveled, he gains 3. So one of the reasons why I have him over crit capped is like in Rango Kutsu or something like that. If Rango Kutsu is water, you want him to be able to still crit, because if you don't crit, you don't activate his passive, right? For PvP, I would certainly take this down to 70% and just roll with the punches. Hope that my opponent isn't bringing someone like a Heinrich or something like that that puts up the block buffs. But other than that, I would just build him at 70% crit rate. Okay, enough talking. When it comes to the thresholds, in Terramaton, he's okay. You can certainly go a much tankier route if you wanted to. Like if you just wanted to kind of buckle down, I think you certainly could. You could just go like double healer. I think I've got Chiaki. Do I have Kachi the guard built? I do. So something like this, because he cranks out so much damage, he turn meter boosts himself, that you can even focus down the boss here, and his AoEs from his main skill and his passive proccing and activating the AoEs is going to be enough to kill this left side head. So his initial damage, it's not going to seem very, very high, but as he ramps up, those calamity flames are just going to take over. And another thing that's very, very awesome about his kit is this left side head, because he has that stealth, can't target him. He can't be targeted, and your DPSs tend to be, the squishiest characters that you have. So here we're using Mia. We don't have as much turn meter cycling as we would like someone with like Lily. Lily can boost you up, put him to the front of the turn order, and you're activating his passive a lot more frequently. But even with, like these SRs and the Mia, you're able to loop around quick enough anyway. And you see here, the Calamity Flames are up to seven stacks. So he's going to start ramping up more. So let's see how much his Calamity Flame stack ends up doing. So that was about 8,800, which isn't bad, right? It's 8,800 additional damage on top of the, I think it was around 20,000 that he was doing on his own merits. But you see, this left side head is already getting withered down a little bit. So it's a bit slower fight. As I mentioned, it's going to be similar to like a Chloros or whatever. But we're turn meter pushing our entire team. We're keeping our team healthy. We got plenty of our buffs here. We got all of the heals. We got our shields. We have the Origami Guardians from the Chiaki. And then the next time he goes, he's going to be able to AoE, and he'll most likely kill this left side head without us ever having it as our main target, right? So that's awesome. So there you go. Left side head down, and then I think this is kind of an easy fight. We just have to survive, but we got plenty of like sustain here where the boss is barely doing anything. You do have to recognize that he is going to ramp up. But our Kokardi is now at max stacks, so he's going to be pumping out a lot of good damage every chance he gets. So now the Calamity Flame stacks. Let's see what they're at. Let's see how much he's doing on his Calamity Flame stacks. So 15,000. That's pretty good. And that's kind of the like upside of using him in, endgame PvE like Anti-Sync. If you have him in Bloodbath, the higher you scale on that content, of course, the HP is going to be higher on everybody. So the Calamity Flames are really going to pump out some damage. So you have two routes, right? Like if you have Shiata relies on Revelation proccing and doing all the damage based on max HP, where this route you can go Kokardi in Bloodbath and do similar things. So we are cutting it close here. But we are going to get the job done. Where if we brought, some more DPS, whether it's Kloss, whether it's Plume, that would be a more surefire fight. So yeah, he's viable here. When it comes to Aurora, he's a little bit too squishy, in my opinion. Like he can do this if he has the right support around him. Like maybe we don't use Tsukiyomi. Maybe we end up using, maybe we end up using Kachi the Guard, and maybe this can get the job done. But you see there, like, he almost died. It was pretty close. If you had him in Bloodbath, he'd have a much easier time surviving. But he does not have anyone to give him attack up here. And we are also not slowing the boss down or anything. We're kind of just turn meter boosting ourselves. Oh, I guess Plume does have a little bit of speed reduction because she's just absolutely nuts. But we aren't finding any ways to increase his damage from like an attack up standpoint. So he's ramping up his Calamity Flames, but this is a fight where it's hard to buckle down and take on this boss from a standpoint of just like a longevity thing. you really need to kill him fast, because if these things build up, he takes additional turns, and then your team gets wiped like really fast. In all honesty, I don't even know if, like, I think we probably lose here anyway. Yeah, like the boss is just taking way too many turns. I'm sure there's a team out there where you can use him for a DPS, but there's way better options, right? You should be using what's that hero over here that I use on my free to play? Sybil. Like Sybil's way better in this dungeon than he is. When it comes to Sharon, he can do a little bit of work, but it's more so the support heroes around you that are going to help you beat Sharon more so than your DPS. Shadowflame Hoyon is not very useful. In Rengo Kutsu, I think he does have some viability as a DPS option. He can't be targeted by Rengo, right? So in here, I think I would probably use someone like Viper, and then maybe like a Sonya. Let's just put the shell that Chiaki has on her on Sonya, and then we'll go in here and test this, and then we'll get out of here. But long story short, I think if you already have your PvE teams locked and loaded, you certainly do not need Kokardi, right? I don't think you need Kokardi at all. But for endgame PvE, Anti-Sync Echoes, Ember Trek, if you don't have a Shiata, I think he makes things way easier there, where you can just put him in Bloodbath and go in and just slow roll, tank down, turtle up, a bunch of healers, bunch of defense up, and just let him build up. But you see here, he's doing some pretty solid damage against the boss. And remember, he can't be targeted by the side ads, and he can't be targeted by Rengo Kutsu himself. So whenever they use their AoEs, he'll be affected. Same thing with Rengo's large AoE or his counterattack. But yeah, this is kind of like a safe bet. Now, sadly, our Viper missed the attack down here, which is just the RNG of this all. But with him not being the target of these side ads, it's actually pretty cool that he has a lot more longevity and sustainability than you would think. But as he ramps up here, the damage output is cranking up. We have a pretty healthy team with the Sonya healing everybody up. We also have the revive if anything goes wrong. But because he does so much AoE, we're going to end up killing these ads, which is really nice and helps the consistency of this fight. So one ad's already down. So if Rengo killed us, we have someone to bring. We have Sonya to bring someone back. This is a very, very safe kind of team here. And it's all because his kit allows him to stay alive. You don't have to worry about him, dying too quickly. As long as you can get the attack down from a Viper or a Vice or a Rin, where he doesn't die on these AoEs, that's where he's the most susceptible. But once that side adds down, even if he were to die here, right, we could bring him back with the Sonya and eventually kill Rengo. So, yeah. Long story short, guys, a solid character in PvE. Solid character, but I think he's going to be mainly PvP focused. But if you start out early in the game and you're progressing, I don't think he's a bad investment, because he's going to be top notch for PvP. He's probably even going to help you progress in PvP in games that you shouldn't have won, which help with your shop currencies and all that stuff. And then once you get to the end game, you already have a really nice DPS character that you can take into PvE, and he helped you progress along the way in PvE. So that's what we got for you today. Hope you appreciated it and liked it. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.